We're going to learn about the rectangle tool and the different ways you can use it. So right click where it says edit this sketch and select the little pencil on the piece of paper, the edit sketch button. We're going to make sure we are on the sketch tab, and up here in the second row, first one, you notice that there are 5 different types of rectangles. You're probably familiar with the corner rectangle. That's just the normal rectangle. So I'll just demo that. I'm going to select that one, and basically you just click and click. That's very simple. 2 clicks, corner to corner. This one, however, says center rectangle. So here we're going to switch our option, and you notice there are 2 clicks again, but this time you're creating from the center out, and it puts these little dotted construction lines. Now we're going to use the 3-point rectangle tool, and this works on 3 different clicks. So your first click is one of the corners, your second click is the same side corner, and then your third click is the thickness or height of this rectangle. So then this is kind of combining the 2 ideas, the 3-point center rectangle tool. So if we switch our option, here our first click, instead of being in a corner, is actually being in the center. Our second click is directly across from that, but in the middle of the line. And then the third one is the thickness or its height. So it's creating from the center, then the midpoint, and then the thickness. Okay. And the last option here is a parallelogram. You've also known this as a rhombus. So we select one spot, move over and click another one, and that's the bottom line. And then you can move your mouse straight up and you can tilt this to whatever degrees you want. We'll barely ever use this in TechDraw 1. Close out, return from our sketch. You can save this and you can move on to the next tool, which is the arc tool. I have multiple files open, so I'm just going to close out and continue on. And in the arc tool, you want to right click on the spot that says edit this sketch. And in here we zoom in and we see we want the 3-point arc tool. So the arc tool is the second row, second one in, and there are 3 different ones. So we want the 3-point arc tool. So this works on 3 different clicks. Click 1, click 2 is the opposite side, and then click 3 is how big you want that arc. Tangent, meaning it's going to touch something else at one single point. So we're going to make a tangent arc. Since we have a corner here and a corner here, the tangent arc, if we switch to that option, is going to make this flow right into the next line. So click one corner, move around, click the other corner, and you notice that this little box popped up. So this wasn't perfectly lined up to be tangent over here. So it's asking you, do you want to make this tangent? Hit tangent, and it will. See, it readjusted this line. So even though you use the tangent arc, don't always assume that it makes it tangent. Okay. Next one, that says center point arc, and CCW just means counterclockwise, so moving to the left. So if we move to the center point arc, we can click in the middle, you click out here, and then you want to move to the left. Really, it doesn't matter if you move to the right or not. It's fine. It's just so you understand that you're moving from the center out. Okay. So that is it for this. If you want to do the other one, this is clockwise. That's just a click, click, and you're moving this way. That's fine. You can return from this sketch. You can go ahead and save it and move on to the next one. Once again, I have more opened, so I'm just going to close out and continue on. So this is the Polygon activity. You want to right click and edit the sketch and zoom in. And you can do all of these if you'd like. I'm only going to do the triangle up here just to give you an example, because the Polygon tool is very self-explainable. You'll get it after you do this first one. It is the bottom row, second one in, and basically this is asking you how many sides do you want. So for a triangle we want 3, so you can change that number, and then it's asking you inscribed circle or circumscribed circle. So this is something that you're probably not familiar with unless you've taken an upper level math like trigonometry or maybe calculus. Inscribed means that it's going to create a circle on the inside of your polygon. So watch what happens when I do that. If I click here and I move out, it puts a construction circle on the inside, and it's tangent at all 3 points. The reason why it does that is because if you were to hand sketch this, it would be much easier to keep these outsides proportionate and the same degrees by using a compass first. So putting a compass in the middle, drawing your little circle, and then calculating your angles here. So it's a lot easier to do. If I hit the green check, then I need to get back into my polygon tool, and this time let's try it with a circumscribed, meaning the circle is going to be on the outside. Okay, now you noticed I made you click the green check because watch what happens. I'm still technically editing this even though I've already drawn it. So if I were to change the amount of sides, it edits it. It automatically changes it. This is unlike any other tool in SolidWorks as far as I know. So you got to be kind of mindful that once you draw it, if it's how you want it, you just hit the green check and move on. Okay, so like I said, you can do these other ones if you want, but you don't have to. I'm going to back out. You can save this, and I'm going to move on to the next activity. And once again, since I have more open, I'm just going to continue. So this is the slot activity. You need to right-click and edit this sketch. And zooming in up here in the first one, this says use the straight slot tool. So the slot tool is the bottom row, first one, and you notice that you have 4 different drop downs. So we want the straight slot. And basically, what a slot is a rectangle that both ends of the rectangle are actually curves. They're arcs. So you can see over here there are other options. There are options for dimensions, and there's 2 different ways you can dimension from the center of the arc to the opposite center, or you can go from the end of the arc to the end of the arc. So that's the overall length or center to center. So you might need those at some point, but for right now we're just drawing. So we want the straight slot, and you notice there are 3 different clicks here. So click 1 is in the middle of one of the arcs, click 2 is the middle of the other one, and click 3 is the thickness. Okay. Slots are used in machining all the time. So the center point straight slot, change that option. You notice the symbol here shows the center is first. Then when we move our mouse out, you can see it's kind of mirroring or copying to the opposite side. Our second click is actually the center of one of the curved ends, and our third click is the thickness. Now down here, the 3-point arc slot. So this is a little bit complicated for students to use because it's combining 2 different tools. So we learned before the 3-point arc. So that we clicked in one spot, clicked in another, and then moved out for how much we wanted to arc. So it's using the same idea here, 3-point arc. This time we're making a slot. So you want to change your option to be on the 3-point arc slot, and it does the same thing. Click one spot, you click the other end, and then you move out for how much of an arc you want. The 4th click, however, is the thickness of that slot. So you see how it's kind of combining those 2 ideas. So same thing over here. We learned the center point arc, and the center point arc worked by you clicking in the middle, clicking how far out you want, and then how much of the arc you wanted. Okay, so the center point arc slot does the same thing. So switch to that option, and you'll see here it clicks in the center. You click out to the end, and it's asking you how much of this arc you want. So if I go, say here, the last click is just its thickness. So it's kind of combining the different ideas of the arcs. But those are the basic tools for right now that we need to know. So you can return out of this, you can save it, and then you can move